I hear a lot of the older generation complaining because that generation doesn't take initiative, or you have to keep on them. But I'm like, we're the ones who raised them.
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's ours.
All right, hey guys, we are here again at Next Step, and today we're gonna be talking about initiative. And you might be like, Jessica, what are you talking about? I think you might hear parents talk about it, you might hear your teachers talk about it, you might even hear your employers talk about how the importance of taking initiative. So I just decided, I think we need to do a video on it. And I get the pleasure of doing this video with my dear friend, Darla Harms.
Hello.
Hey. So Darla, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Darla Harms. I'm the CEO and founder of Small Town Girls Play Big. It is a personal and professional development company for women. Specifically, we target women living in small towns or from a small town.
That is awesome.
It is great.
I love it. And so let's just jump in there. So I know the question I want to ask to you, what is initiative? Like, what is that? What does that word mean to you?
Initiative means to initiate. So it's something that you do. It doesn't come from anybody else. It's something that's inside of you, and it's from the inside out. No,
I love that. I love like that part. That's something that you do, because I've worked in retail before, and I work with young adults, and I love young adults. I love you guys. I really do. But I always find myself, I need you to take initiative. I need you to jumpstart something. I do not want to tell you what to do every step of the way. So I guess that goes into my next question. Why do you think initiative is important, particularly in the workplace?
Well, first of all, I think initiative starts before the workplace. I think initiative is something that starts inside of you at home. Oh, wow. So the initiative to set your alarm, the initiative to make sure you're showered, your clothes are ready, the initiative to make sure your laundry is done, the initiative to read a good book, the initiative to do whatever it is to do that you're trying to do to make yourself better. That starts with you. And work is just an overflow of what you do in your personal life with initiative. Yeah. So if you're a couch potato, which has kind of become common with COVID, so let's just remove COVID from the conversation. This is pre-COVID. So whatever initiative you take at home is an overflow at work, right? So if you're a couch potato at home, you're gonna be a couch potato at work. I mean, it's not literally you're sitting on a couch watching TV, but you're gonna be complacent and lazy. I mean, if that's your focus, that's how you initiate in your life, that's gonna show up at school and work. So if you can't take the initiative at home, why would you at work?
Wow, that is good, because I think, so I've been reading this book, Generation Z Unfiltered by Tim Elmore.
Oh, I love Tim.
And I'm like, my mind is being blown, because he talks about this generation, particularly how I think their mind works and what they have experienced. But one thing he also points out in this book is basically that we have overparent this generation. And so when we were little, and I'm sure there are other parents in this day that still do this, give their kids chores, but he said he's shown through studies and research studies that we tend to overdo for students, so they don't know the little things to do. So by the time they get maybe to the workplace, there's still a dependence on parent. So the fact that you said that initiative starts at home, it's something that starts when you're young, when you're a child. And if your parent is telling you to make up your bed or clean your room, it's all those little things that's trying to instill in you the initiative to do things that need to get done.
Absolutely. So there is a point where we shouldn't have to tell our kids to do their laundry, right? They should take the initiative. I have loads, I have laundry, I need to do them because I have work. So my 18-year-old does that. He works at Chipotle. So he gets up, he takes care of his own laundry now. I don't do his laundry anymore. Yeah. So he washes dries it, folds it, gets his work clothes ready. And if I were still doing that for him, I would be depriving him of the opportunity to take an initiative on his own.
Yeah. When I was a RA in college, a resident assistant, I spent majority of my time teaching college students how to wash clothes. I was literally like, okay, take my girls on the hall. This is how you wash clothes. These are your colors. This is your whites. This is how much, detergent you put in. This is the things you put in the dryer. Read the text. I spent a good chunk of time explaining to 18, 19, 20-year-olds how to wash clothes. And I mean, I don't think that's the worst case scenario, but I think it's something that goes back to what we're initially talking about. That at some point they didn't take the initiative at home or wasn't giving them chance to take the initiative at home. So when they went out into the world, they were like, I don't know how to wash clothes. I'm like, what you mean you don't know how to wash clothes? So let's do a class.
On how to wash
on how to
laundry.
wash clothes. And I think it's in good intentions. Like, I love this book and how he talks about it's really good intentions, the pendulum of how we're raising students and young adults. I think it's more out of the fear of the unknown, and we rob them of the opportunity of the growth to figure out how to do things.
Oh, absolutely. It could be anything as small as making dinner. Help them if it's their turn to make dinner, make sure they have everything they need, but give them the opportunity to initiate that, and then don't micromanage it.
Yeah.
Like, don't hover over them and make sure they do it perfectly. Sometimes the best way to learn is just to do it.
Yeah.
And make some mistakes. Burn your hand on the stove. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Let them figure that out. And so that is something that is an overflow into the workplace.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of the older generation complaining because that generation doesn't take initiative, or you have to keep on them. But I'm like, we're the ones who raised them.
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's ours for overprotecting them and not letting them make the mistakes that they need to make in order to learn what initiative really looks like.
Yeah. And I love the word overflow. It's probably one of my favorite words, because I do think what we instill in us is an overflow in how we show up in school and work. And I remember growing up, we had this, my family home was built on this pecan orchard. And so one of the things we had to do, I remember being 5, my dad was like, okay, Jessica, your job before I get home from work is to pick up pecans underneath this tree, or to pick up sticks, because my dad used to work 12-hour days. So when he come home, he wanted to spend his time when there was light outside to mow the grass, to make sure the yard was presentable. That was his thing, and it was relaxing to him. But if I didn't do my part, he couldn't do his part.
Right.
And I remember being so young thinking, oh, I hate picking up sticks. I really did hate picking up sticks. And I really did hate pecan season, because I would be out there for an hour or two after school. But it is still something in me that by the time I got to work at 17 in my first job, or I think I was 16, I knew enough to say, if I didn't have anything to do, to go to my manager and say, is there something else I can do?
Right.
I think it's something so little that it taught me, like, okay, if you need to do something to help time go by fast, and that's part of my personality. I'm like, let's go, let's do, because I don't want to stand there. But me taking initiative is sometimes just asking a question, how can I help? Is there anything else I can do? I'm telling y'all, employers love that, because they want to know. That's that step that they want to hear. Like, oh, you want to know? They'll educate you all day, every day. You work with businesses that you probably can speak to that.
Well, and I think it's more than just going to your employer. Sometimes you just need to do it. If the garbage is full, take the garbage out.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait for the cleaning lady or the cleaning person to come in and do that. Do it yourself. If there are dishes in the sink in the workroom, just put them in the dishwasher or clean them up. You take that initiative. So I think initiative is being able to see bigger to see big in what's around you that's bigger than your job description. Because one thing I do hear quite frequently is that's not in my job description. And if you're going to be good at taking initiative, you've got to eliminate that phrase, because sometimes there are things that you're asked to do that you don't want to do, or you're going to have to do things on your own that maybe somebody else should be doing.
Yeah.
And especially COVID has taught us that, right? So there are things that you're going to have to do that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's initiative.
And it builds up, because I think one thing I love about Generation Z is that they see something, they'll conquer it. They don't have to wait on adults to give them permission.
Nope.
You want to start a business? Boom, I'm going to start a business. But I also think there's maybe a false reality behind that sometimes too, to realize, well, yeah, you're gonna have to do stuff you don't like to do in order for that business to be successful sometimes, until you can outsource it, bring in more people.
Yes.
Sometimes you're gonna have to take out your own garbage. Sometimes you're gonna have to do your own taxes. Sometimes you're gonna have to do those things that might not be your natural suit of the creativity part of your business. And I think that's what initiative can help build. If I can do this little part that's going to help me be successful, then let me take the initiative to do that, instead of saying, well, I'm not good at that. Well, that's not going to help you in the long run.
Well, I think part of that is we live in an Amazon Prime culture where everything is at your doorstep in 2 days. Or you can order your groceries now and have them delivered to your house within 2 hours. So, however, in the real world, right, it doesn't work like that. It certainly doesn't work in my business that way. It takes a long time to cultivate relationships, to cultivate business networking practices, processes, and procedures and influence and leadership and business skills. It takes a long time. And so I don't want this generation to think that they should get discouraged if things aren't happening as fast as they want them to. Sometimes it's not a sprint, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint in that respect. So work is always a marathon. It's a long-term commitment. And I think this generation is great at the initiative in the short term. My concern is the commitment to the long term. What is it really going to take for you to get where you need to go? And what kind of grit, resiliency, chutzpah, moxie do you have in order to get there?
Yeah. And I think this can go into probably a whole nother video, because I just think that's long-term vision. Right. What is, instead of the short term, I want to make money on my own, what do I want to look like in 5 years, 10 years? And I think because we do live in an instant gratification, like, I get it, I want it, I have it now, then we lose the fact of the harvesting piece. We lose the fact you plant the seed, you water the seed, you pull weeds, you continue to water the seed.
Yeah, those weeds are important. They show up a lot. Okay. Yeah, get to it. Yeah, don't let them grow too.
And we forget that a tree is not grown overnight.
Right.
And we want the tree, we envision the tree, but we get discouraged when it's not growing at a faster pace. But it's something about learning stuff in the slower pace. This is what I've learned for 2020. If you can learn in the slower pace, then you can run when it's fast. You if I want to go out there and be an Olympian tomorrow, that ain't gonna happen. Just so many reasons. But I haven't put in the training. I haven't put in the work. When you really think about the Olympics, they take 4 years of their life of practice for literally a few minutes or less than a minute to even try to get on the board out of the top 3. So it's so much planning and seeding, but that can be a totally different video, but I love it. I love this stuff like this. Are there times, do you think taking initiative can hurt someone?
Absolutely. So initiative is always good, but it's the way you take initiative. So I tend to kind of speak before I think. And that can get me in trouble when it comes to taking initiative, and it has. So part of my growth is to stop and reflect before I initiate. And the other thing is that we can't be offended when our initiatives are put down. We need to let it go. So if you're working in a work environment, you go to an employer with an idea and they don't like it, okay, let it go. Maybe you shouldn't work there, maybe you should go somewhere else, maybe it's not the right season. So when you take initiative, you've got to have the right heart behind it. Because if I go to you and I'm all like up in my attitude and I've got, big ideas, but I come across as a bulldog, what I'm trying to communicate to you is going to get lost in the message. Yeah. In my way of being, in my presence, in my attitude. It's much better to establish relationships at work first, to really invest in people before you go big on the initiatives or ideas. Now, it's always good to ask for more work if you're bored. Yeah. That is just kind of life skill 101. But there's initiative above and beyond that. Maybe you want a raise. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you'd like to go to a specific training somewhere that gives you a new skill set that helps you become better at your job. So there is a way to ask. It's always with humility and with respect. And then if you don't get what you want, learning to let it go. Because, and this kind of goes to the employer perspective. Can I change and talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. So to create an environment where initiative is welcome, there has to be trust. You've got to be the kind of employer that allows ideas to flow freely.
Yeah.
And I worked for a church once where the pastor, terrific leader, said, I love it when people come to me with new ideas and take the initiative to step out of their comfort zone. He goes, I'll even let them fail if I think it's a bad idea, just because they had the guts to come to me in the first place.
Wow.
And I've never forgot that. He was willing to let people fall on their face, but he respected the fact that they wanted to try something. And he knew as a leader that until they learned that lesson and tried something and failed, that how would they know what to ask for in the future?
Yeah.
And sometimes it was great because he said sometimes he thought it was a bad idea and it turned out to be amazing. So I think you've got to create an atmosphere of trust where you're willing to listen and allow initiative to happen. There are businesses and employers who manage people, micromanage them, and shoot things down consistently. So that can really wear on people, especially this generation. They are full of ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, they're exposed to so much information that they've got a million things going through their head, and they want to try this and try this and try this. And we've got to be okay with that. I mean, we kind of created that,
Yeah.
and then we're like, oh, well, that's dumb. Where'd you learn that? Well, I learned it from the internet. Okay, well, we gave that to them as a gift, and now we want to help them explore that.
Yeah. I think, well, you said so many nuggets on that, because I think even taking initiative, as simple as just strip it down to whether you work at a fast food restaurant.
Okay.
And let's go, and we're talking to a teenager, and you're there. And overstepping your boundaries to me would be like, well, outside of the role of your authority. Like, I can't, if a customer came up, had a complaint, and you don't have the authority to give back money, you need to not take that initiative, not try to just, I understand you want to solve the problem, but if you don't hold the authority to actually move the initiative, you can create issues. So if you're young and a teenager in that mindset, but I also think what you said, so many good things about just being humble and not taking things offensive. Like, so what, me and you are different, where you are like, let's go. I'm like a turtle. Let me think on it. Let me research it. Let me pray on it. And you're like, okay,
Jess,
let's
let's
go. And I'm like, and that's just my pace. But, I can see the advantage of my pace, but I also see the disadvantage. I will miss opportunities because I overprocess, I overanalyze things. And so I love when you said that, do not take it personal, because then it becomes an offense that you carry.
Right.
And then you either shut yourself down or you shut other people out.
Right.
And I think also with this generation, I do think we need to let them run with their ideas, but I hope they understand in a structured box. Like, if we can create a sandbox.
Well, and I think
them.
we need to know who they are. So there's a lot of great, how many personality tests are there right now?
Like 10,000 of them.
Yeah, I mean, one, by the way, that's a really great site. It's called 16personalities.com, and it's a Myers-Briggs site, but it's free.
Yeah.
I've had my boys take the test. I want them to take initiative within their strengths and what I believe their talents and abilities are. I don't want them to take initiative in what's not their strength.
Yeah.
Not that it can't work out eventually, but I think in general, having worked in the school system and been in academics myself, we focus too much on their weaknesses and not enough on the strengths.
Yeah.
So I've got a son with a learning disability in math. So they give him 2 math classes. What he's really good at is writing, In the 7th grade, one of his teachers said he's the best writer within their little group. There's like 120 kids in his class. I'm like, he's one of the best writers out of 120 kids, but he's taking 2 math classes. That didn't make any sense to me. Why isn't he taking 2 writing classes? Or 2 English classes? Let's just manage the weakness and explore the strengths. So I don't quite understand that, because when you move to the business world, money isn't my thing. I have somebody who takes care of that. I have an accountant. I have a business partner who does all the financials. Now, I'm informed and I know what's going on, but I don't sit and enter the numbers.
Yeah.
Somebody else does that who enjoys that. That's the business world.
Yeah.
And that's work life. That's when you get out of school. So let's take initiative in areas that we love and what we're good at. You know, my son, he loves rap music.
Yeah.
So I got him a journal and I'm like, write down some lyrics.
Yeah.
I don't love rap, but you do. Take the initiative. You've got all this stuff in your head and you're a great writer. Why don't you start writing some rap songs?
Yeah.
I'm good with that. You want to be a rapper? Knock yourself out. I don't care, as long as he does what he loves.
Yeah.
It's not about my agenda. It's about what's best for them. And that's the other mistake I think parents make, is we force them to do what we think they should take initiative at. I've worked in schools, I've worked in colleges, I've coached teenagers and college kids in my career. And so I see a lot of parents pushing kids towards what they want when kids have a completely different dream. And if parents would open up and just listen to their kid about what do they want and then help them, there probably wouldn't be as much resistance in that relationship either.
Yeah.
So take a major. When they declare a major for school, the parent thinks, oh, they should major in this. The kid wants to major in something else. I guess I was raised in a home where my parents said, do what you love and the money will follow. Just do what you love.
Yeah.
Figure out what it is that you love and go get it. I was never pushed, ever, to do something I didn't want to do. And it really worked out quite well.
I think it's a balance, though. I think what you said, for parents need to listen to their kids. I think that's true, because it actually goes along with my last question. How can parents and teachers provide or instill initiative? And I think you hit it on the head. When you see your child excel at something, then encourage that something.
Absolutely.
You know, if they're excelling at video games, even though, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of video games, I can't sit there, but there's something about that, then find something else that's in that same realm that they can excel as well. I think that's what listening to our the younger generation, but also don't just, you know, I think some parents push because their kids don't know. And so they're trying to do something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, and
right.
my dad rule was this: you can't live in my house unless you in school or you working. So I am not taking care of no grown person that's not going to do anything. So we knew if you don't want to go to college, you need to be working in a job. You have to be moving towards something. And I think some parents have really good intentions for the most part because they see their child move towards nothing. And I think what happens is we feel like we need to know all the answers at 18. And we don't. And another thing I love about this book I'm reading, he's talking about how there's a delayed effect. You know, when I turned 16, going to get your driver's license was the thing. Everybody I knew at 16 was driving. Now kids don't drive until they're 18. They're not going to college if they go to college or to late 20. Everything is being pushed back. Because we have created, I think, a safe place for students. There's a delay somewhere that there's no, let's go, let's get. Because I think in a way we've kind of made things cushy. So you got to find that balance of pushing when you need to push, stepping back when you need to step back. Allow them to take that initiative to walk what they need to walk and fall when they need to fall, but be supportive to know, like, okay, let's get back up. Clean yourself back up. This ain't the end of the world. Because at their age, it's the end of the world if I don't get into the college I want to. It's the end of the world if I don't get into this program. It's the end of the world. It feels like it, but I'm telling y'all, it's not the end of the world. I promise you, it's not.
It's not the end of the world.
It's
You'll
not.
be okay.
You
You'll make
will,
it.
but I can understand it from both parts of, I think, parents, and not just parents, teachers, any of us adults that are influencing. I think the intention is like we need to do something.
Oh, I absolutely agree that kids need to be doing something. We all need to be doing something.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the right thing right now, we need to be moving towards something.
Yeah.
So, no, staying home, living off mom and dad is never an option. No, my
Yeah.
kids are not going to do that, and you're not either. So go get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel the stress with my son. He's a senior now. Last summer he came home and he's all worked up and he's so stressed out and we've got to pick this college and my grades and all this pressure about life. I'm like, where's that pressure coming from? He's like, well, everything. I'm like, is it coming from me? Because if it is, I need to clean that up. He's like, no. So where's it coming from? School. Okay, what about school? They want us to, pick a path and pick a major and get going. And I'm like, do you know what you want to major in? Kind of. Like, Josh, you don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
Relax a little bit and enjoy the journey. Not that you shouldn't be taking initiative and trying to figure out your life, but there's nothing wrong with taking a year off and not going into debt if you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like time off working in the real world to motivate you to go to college, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I did that. I took a semester off. I was ready to go. Like, okay, I don't want to do this. I want to go get something, be skilled at something that I love. So, but I've just seen the effects of push, dual enrollment. Not that those things are bad, but the long-term effects, some of that stress. I mean, I've seen kids crumble. They get depression, anxiety issues. They're not sleeping. They're making poor decisions because they feel the pressure to achieve and go. But then there's also the other effect of kids are living at home and sleeping on, living off mom and dad. So I think the balance is somewhere in the middle.
It is.
And it depends on the kids. Some kids handle that pressure really well and some don't. But it's not, we shouldn't be comparing our kids.
Yeah.
We should be loving our kids, knowing them intimately, helping them, and then when they get out of the house, kind of encouraging them to find their path. So I think we can go overboard on some things.
On both ends.
On both ends. Like complacency, I do everything for them too. My kid's going to be a straight A student. They're going to graduate by the time they graduate high school, they'll have their college degree.
Yeah.
To pressure. Like, it's all just
I think what you say and kind of how I want to wrap this up is it is about relationship.
Absolutely.
But I think if you are a student that have a parent that is pushy, I would ask you to step back to have compassion on that parent because it does come from probably 9 times out of 10 it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place that they want you to have better. And sometimes the way things land, it might not be a fit for you and your personality. But I also think it's in both lands. So I think what I would love for you guys to take from this is move towards something. Take initiative to something that you like. Try different things.
I agree.
Because if you're waiting for something to fall in your lap,
it doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't happen. And everybody will pass you and you'll be like, what happened?
Well, it can fall in your lap, but you've got to be moving towards something.
Yeah.
Like opportunity hit me out of nowhere. So, I mean, that's happened consistently, but I was moving in a direction. And then I met the right person in the right direction.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't moving if I'd been complacent and hanging back, that person would have just crossed right by me. And our paths would not have
intersected. And you were ready
intersected.
when it came.
Absolutely.
And so that's the whole point, I think, to me when I say initiative for young adults and teens that are, whether you're starting your first time job, whether you're going into corporate world, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know, you don't know. It's okay. Ask away, and just make sure you're present. And some things when I used to work with young adults, I used to tell them this: if you come to me, I will always show you. I will always show you. But if I have to constantly come to you, I don't mind teaching, but I would love to see the initiative of you're like, okay, how can I be better and want to be better? Because whether you work at fast food or you're working as an accountant, every job can teach you something.
Absolutely. Everything is a building block for something else.
Yeah.
And my generation needs to be calmer when that generation comes and asks us questions. We need to be more patient because they are very inquisitive.
Yeah.
They want to know why. That is a big question for millennials and that the generation down. They want to know why. They want to know the value behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they've been exposed to so many things going on in the world. What's the value behind it?
Yeah.
So take the time to do that. The other thing we need to consider when we are working with people and imparting our wisdom are learning differences. Everybody learns a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm a visual learner. My son, who is 16, is a kinesthetic learner. He's a hands-on learner. So if I'm going to impart to him and train him up, I've got to know how he learns, not how I learn. So
go back to relationship.
That relationship, know their personality, how do they learn, what are they good at? Yeah.
So that's how we start.
Yep, it's good.
If you're an employer listening, we hope you encourage your employees by listening to them. And if you are an employee, listening to your employers as well.
Yes.
It's a relationship, it's a listening game, and it's one of the things that can help propel you into the future that you want to live in. But we probably could talk about this all day.
I'm pretty sure we could keep going forever. Yeah,
but I also know that all good things have to come to an end. So Darla, thank you for being here today. I really enjoyed it, and I hope this video blesses you, and I'll see you again soon.